Hi, I'm Josh from Tenet. We're going to show you how to connect your batteries on a IPC machine. This one here is a CT90 when it arrives from the factory. So first of all, we need to open the top tank. So we've got a lever at the front here. This tank opens right up and that gives us access to the battery compartment. So if we have a look at the batteries here, we've got 4 6-volt batteries. They all need to be in series. So if we look at how we've got this one currently wired up, it's how you should have yours. There is a handy little indicator here, which we'll cover in a sec. So we've got the leads that come straight from the machine. We've got a positive, which you've got a positive symbol on your battery there. And we've also got your main negative, which is this one here. And then all we need to do is follow positive to negative in a straight series through each battery all the way back around. There is a handy little legend that sits at the front there. So you can sort of have a look at that and that will pinpoint exactly how you need to wire them up. Okay, we're going to go through the operation of a CT90 now. So the first thing we'll cover is our battery compartment because we want to make sure that these are connected. When the machine arrives, you're going to have all of your battery cables will be sitting in this compartment. We have just done a video on how to connect them, so I'd watch that first. Once we have our battery compartment connected, we can now close this tank. So we'll slide that back down there. We'll have a look at the front of the machine first. So we've got our scrub head at the front. We've got some red pads here, which we're going to do a scrub with in a minute. So when we look at these pads, we've got a center clip. What we do is we unscrew that center cap there, and that will allow us to take the pads off. So we can rotate these pads as they start to wear through, as we need to, and when they do need to be replaced, they are quite easy. We just unscrew that center cap and pop it back on. Now, the machine has a self-loading function for the front brushes and pads, so all we need to do is slide them under the scrub head, just like that. We come around to the rear of the machine. We've got a foot pedal on the side here, so all we need to do is stand down towards the outer edge, and then the scrub head will lower.
Can you do that once more? How it goes up and down, Josh?
So down into the lock position, and then down to the outer position to lower the scrub head. So now that the scrub head's lowered, if you want to come and have a look at the touch panel here, we've got our brush button here. So notice that there's no lights currently illuminated. All we need to do is touch this brush button once. Now our pads are loaded. We can see that both of our brushes have been loaded to the machine. So the machine's now ready to scrub. We'll go over the main functions of the machine, how we fill it, how we drain it, and then we'll actually do a scrub. So initially, we're going to need clean water, which goes into this solution tank that's at the bottom. So your grey tank is all your clean water. We've got a filter that sits in the front there. That'll catch any larger debris that is in the filling water. So we make sure we fill it up at the front. So when we unscrew our cap, this is where all your dirty water is going to collect. So if we have a look in there, obviously after every use we want to make sure we flush this tank out. We also want to pull out the vacuum filter, which is this little blue filter, give that a hose out and drain and dry as well before every use to make sure it's ready to go. Pop that back in there, and now this cap slides back on top. So we'll come around to the back of the machine before we start to do a scrub. We'll have a look. We've got our squeegee, which we'll need to pop on. So
can you show us how that squeegee goes up and down again?
Sure.
Please?
So if we have a look here, we've got a lever that will lower and raise the squeegee frame at the bottom here. So when we want to scrub, the squeegee is lowered, so the handle is in the down position. When you finish scrubbing, the squeegee will raise up into the... All right, so we're going to have a look at the squeegee now and how we would potentially rotate the blades if we need to. So if we have a look at our frame, you can see that we've got a strap that runs along the back, and that's identical to the strap that runs along the front, so the concept is the same for the front and the rear. All we do is unloosen our strap like that. This metal strap will also slide backwards, and then we can get access to our blades. So we need to be checking the blades at least once a week to make sure that we keep on top of the wear. So if we have a look lengthways, we can see that we've got 4 corners on our squeegee blades. So you've got your leading edge, which is this side here that contacts the floor. As that leading edge wears down to about a 45-degree angle or halfway through the blade, then it's time to rotate. So all we do is undo our latches in the front and the back, take our straps off, and then we will rotate the blade. Our squeegee is now sitting on the floor. We've got our 2 center nuts which attach to the frame. So if we have a look, I'll lower our squeegee down. We've got our frame that sits here. These 2 yellow nuts will go straight onto the locators there. slide that on. Just like that, and then we want to tighten these nuts up. The nuts want to be relatively tight so that the squeegee doesn't pull off, but not too tight that if it was to get caught on something, that it wouldn't remove. Perfect, and then lastly, we've got our vacuum hose. So you want to make sure that this goes onto our squeegee frame. Make sure it's all the way down so that we've got a good seal in our vacuum compartment. So while we're at the back, before we go any further, we'll also have a look at our charger, which sits on the back of the machine. So charger sits right there, and we've got a little bag that holds our power cord. So after every use, we want to make sure the machine's put on charge, and then you've got 3 indicator lights here. So you'll have a green light at the top, which shows that the batteries are fully charged, a yellow light in the middle, and then a red light, which is obviously showing that the batteries need to be charged. So we want to make sure that we don't take the machine off charge until we get that green light showing on the charger. That'll tell us that the batteries are fully charged. So that's pretty much how we get the brushes on, how we fit our squeegee. That's how the machine comes normally. Now, when we're on this side of the machine, we can also see that we've got a little indicator here, which shows us where the solution filter is. So if you're using chemical at your site, it's recommended that you drain the solution tank at least once a week, just to make sure that that chemical doesn't thicken and then block the filter. So when we do that, all we need to do is unscrew our filter just there, and that will drain the clean water out of the tank. We can benefit that by adding some fresh clean water into the fill point of the tank, and that will basically back flush the entire system and push out any old chemical. So if we have a look at the back here, again, we've got our touch panel. So in the off position, we've got our key system that sits there. Turn to the right, just like a car, and we get all the lights pop up. So we'll go through all the different functions. This indicator light here is for a full recovery tank. So this will tell you when you need to drain at the end of every scrub. And this is a solution tank float. So this will tell you when you run out of clean water. The next button to the side is your rabbit and turtle speed indicator. This will allow us to speed up and slow the machine down as we need to. Next one is forward and reverse. So that's pretty self-explanatory. And then we've got solution flow. So this will actually allow us to increase and decrease the amount of water that's released from the scrub head. In the middle, we've got a battery gauge. At the moment, we're on green, so the machine is fully charged. And then we've got our vacuum fan button. So when we lower the squeegee, that will turn the vacuum fan on. We've also got our brush button, so when we want to scrub. So the machine now is set up to scrub. So we might do a little bit of a scrub on the floor. I'll keep the squeegee up so we can see that we've got plenty of water coming out of the scrub head. So we want to make sure that we've got it set to a fairly safe speed so the machine doesn't get away from you. At the back of the machine, we also have our propel handle. So to drive the machine forwards and reverse, all we need to do is depress the throttle here, and that will actually drive the machine forward. So we'll slow it down a bit. We'll go forward. So currently we're scrubbing the floor with the squeegee up. So as we come forward, you can see that we've got plenty of water on the ground. It's going to make sure that we get a nice solid clean. The machine is quite manoeuvrable, so it will spin 180 degrees on itself. We'll come back along. Now we can increase and decrease the water that does come out as we need to, depending on the surface type and how absorbent the floor is. All right, let's get back around. Now when we're ready to collect the water, all we need to do is lower our squeegee. You can hear that the vacuum fan's turned on. And what you want to see at the rack of the squeegee here is a nice dry surface. So this is quite dry. That's going to avoid any potential slips or trips. Come back through. All right, now we want to make sure that we also turn our brush off and our vacuum fan off. Now the machine can be transported without the brush and vacuum fan running. So we've finished our scrub. Now that we need to go through how to clean the machine after every use. So first of all, we'll start with the recovery tank. So we pull our cap off at the top here. We can have a look. We've obviously got some dirty water in there from our scrubbing today. We want to make sure that we are flushing this tank out like we discussed before. We've got our drain hose at the back. So we take our cap off, lay this hose in a drain, and then we want to really hose out this tank, remembering to also clean out the vacuum filter as well. Now it's really important that we make sure that the seal on this cap here is also kept clean, and the face of this tank, to make sure that we get enough vacuum. It is important to also leave this seal, the cap, off the top of the machine while it's sitting. That will prevent bacteria buildup and will allow any moisture to evaporate when the machine is not being used. So we can pop that just there for a sec. Come around to the front of the machine. This machine has pads fitted to it. So when we release the pads, all we need to do is spin clockwise or counterclockwise, and then the brushes will pop off. So when we slide the brushes or the pads off, we can see that we've obviously got our red pad face here. It's really important to make sure that we haven't got any debris, nuts, washers, anything that may potentially scratch the floor stuck into the pad, because they can get caught in there. I recommend that we unscrew the center cap, take the pad off, give it a wash out, and then let that dry overnight before putting it back on for the next use. That way, after every use, it's been inspected, and we can ensure that the floor is not going to be scratched from anything being caught in the pad. While the pads are off, we can get a wet microfiber cloth and actually give underneath the scrub head a wipe as well. So you will get some debris and dirt that's stuck underneath the scrub head, so it is important to give that a wash out after every use as well. At the back, we've obviously got our squeegee, which is going to be in contact with the dirty water as well. So what we can do is we pop our squeegee off. So we undo our 2 center nuts again. Squeegee slides right out. And we want to give the channel of the squeegee a nice hose out to make sure that we clean out all the debris that's stuck in there, and then we let that dry overnight as well. From there, we probably need to make sure that, like we said before, once a week that this solution filter is drained if you are using chemical. If you're not, then we could probably push that out to once a month to give you a little bit more time. And then lastly, make sure our solution filter at the front is also clean as well, so that we can fill the tank properly. Once everything's cleaned, you've got your brushes, your pads off, your squeegee off, everything's drying, we can pop the machine on charge. This machine also comes with an option of brushes. So if you've got a site that's not suited to pads specifically, then we can order a set of brushes in for you. All right, that's pretty much everything.